viewers, and welcome to Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look and live. And we are always glad when you join us, and you are always part of this conversation. So do text us on 22232, our text message line. Also engage us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be glad to hear what you have to say, especially as we discuss today the state of the nation. Lots of things going on at this particular time, and some of the things are clear, others are confusing. And when we get into such a place of clear things, confusing things, we need a person who has definitely the Christian spirit, but also has that political insight, and that has the governance experience to just see things through when it comes to just seeing what's going on in our country. And we are very, very glad here on Spotlight to be joined by Gabriel Muthuma. Welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you, Pastor, for having me once again.
And you're the man. You are the man. Yeah, just to tell us about this confusion and this the clarity, and maybe hopefully at the end of the program we will be clarified.
We'll try.
Don't confuse us. And as we know, Gabriel Muthuma is a political and governance expert, and it's always good to know that he is one who also carries the banner of Christ. And in his, dealings in the corridors of influence in this country, we know that he gathers a lot, and we are able to have that on our Spotlight program, this particular edition. So welcome, and welcome.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me once again.
Lots of things going on.
I know.
Everyone is wondering.
True.
All of us are wondering. We can't help but compare.
True.
Now, people have different opinions. People say, hey, Kibaki was the best president Kenya ever had, and sometimes we hope that he was still around, trying to, at least saying a word here and there. We kind of miss it,
We do.
He seemed very clarified as to what he really wanted for this country.
True.
It was not easy for him, but through it all, he seemed really clear as to what he wanted to do. And what this present government has done mostly is really continue with what he did, because there's that huge infrastructure emphasis that has gone on.
True.
But then we ask ourselves, as this government is coming to its tail end, because within a year or so, the campaign season just kicks in, and there's little more that we can expect from it.
Unfortunately.
Exactly what is the Jubilee government hoping to deliver? Because they have a short time. Please,
True, they do.
And this question comes from the heart of many candidates.
I know.
What exactly is the point?
And Pastor, everywhere I've gone, and the people that I've been able to talk to, and it's quite a lot. And you just meet people in streets, and sometimes you just sit to have a coffee, and somebody will come and tell you, where are we heading? Where is this country heading? Things seems to be in a disarray. I mean, Kibaki left us, and I've heard this: Kibaki left. And true to the fact,
we romanticize him. Yes.
One thing I'll agree when it comes to Kibaki, even though I'm not a good student of doing the comparison analysis, one thing I'll agree what Kibaki did is that Kibaki showed us something very unique. He showed us the power of doability. All right, we were a country removed.
That's a good phrase.
Yeah.
The power of doability.
Oh yes, we were a country removed from development for a very long time, not because it was not doable. We just did not have the clarity of mind to know that, guess what? If 50 or 30 years ago, we were just like the Asian tigers, where did the rain start beating us? We had the same, methodologies. We were in the same, arena of colonization. Why did they bolt and we were left? So I think throughout time, when Kibaki was trying to become a leader of this country, that's probably what he had imagined. And people have actually castigated and asked, what if Kibaki became president in the 80s? Where would we be? Right? So that element of this can be done. Me and you never thought we would see a 6-lane superhighway in Nairobi. In our mind, we were like, the dual carriage from Nairobi Thika is okay.
When you're speaking about this,
Yes.
And I like the phrase that he introduced us to doability, the power of doability, and that we were drawn out, we were removed from development for a very long time.
Yes.
I do recall that there's one April Fool's picture that had been posted in one of the dailies some years back.
Yes.
It was about the Globe roundabout.
Yes.
And had this were very well
Yes,
done,
I remember.
with an overpass
Yes,
and underpass,
yes, and
we're
some waters and
some,
fish.
exactly.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's, it looked like that was, we couldn't even imagine that.
Yes,
But now that's
yes,
in the past.
yes.
Thanks to the power of doability.
Exactly. And so as we moved along, we started talking about things like SGR. Now, Pastor, one thing I would like our viewers to understand, and I know so many people have been cut short by this thinking. They say, this country, we don't have the power imagination. We are, our thinking is, in a deficit, a deficiency rather. We just cannot think. That's not true. That is not true. In this country, we have some of the best thinkers. Our issue, our issue and major problem is just realizing. And the major issue that we suffer is ensuring it's done. The doability facet. How do we think, conceptualize, and deliver? And that's why I gave you last time I was here. I gave you a very good example about China. China closed her doors from the world for 40 years. What we need to be asking is, what were they doing inside there for 40 years? But look at what they presented to the world. So the issue is not thinking. We have people who think very well. Question is, can we implement? Do we have that power? Do we have that that commonness? Do we have the ability to come together as a nation and say, we are going to implement this? Whether it's roads, whether it's hospitals, whether it's schools, do we have the capacity to implement? That has been our problem. It's not thinking. So coming to...
just before you leave that
yes.
point, because you're talking about there's a power of doability.
Yes.
And you've talked about the Kibaki's regime that
Yes.
showed that
Yes.
things are doable.
Yes.
And then here we come and we seem to be stuck
Yes.
at some point of doing.
Yes, exactly.
We are stuck at the point,
Exactly.
as you say, of realizing.
Exactly.
We have thinkers.
Yes.
We have money.
Yes.
Because we do.
Yes.
And but there's this thing about realizing.
Yes.
And I just want to just throw this into the works there, and you can comment on it. The power of implementing.
Right.
I would maybe hear what you have to say
Right.
when we think about it this other way.
Right.
That it is not why we are stuck there is a factor of patriotism.
Yes. Has to do with
It is a factor of
Yes.
patriotism.
Yes.
How much do you love the people?
Yes.
Because if you love the people, you will not leave them at a plan.
True. True. You remember a great man once said, at the end of it all, we've always thought that we'll be judged by what we do. We'll be judged by what we do. But he went further to say, think of it for a minute. What if we are judged by what we do not do? That it goes back to the Christian emblem of, I didn't have and you didn't give. Which means we have the capacity, but we are not doing. Because we have envisioned in ourselves that I'll be judged by what I do. What if you're judged by what you do not do? You had the capacity and the energy and the strength, but you didn't do it. So I think this is what must marinate. As a patriot, I need to ask myself, what do I want to leave Kenya as? I don't know whether you've watched the movie, and this I would encourage many viewers to watch. It is a good movie. Yes, it has some very, crazy scenes. It's called The Schindler's List. I don't know whether you've seen this movie.
I think I have seen commentaries about it.
The last scene, and I'll spoil it for those who have not watched it. It brings out the con of man. And here, Oskar Schindler, after saving all those Jews, after saving them through the Holocaust, he gets to the final scene where they are thanking him, the people that he saved. And there are so many families, generations. But before he gets into the car, he emotionalizes the amount of, or the fewer people that he could have saved. One with his ring, with his car, And that really drives it back to ask. He's really beating himself, not saying how many people he has saved, but he's saying, for this ring, I would have gotten one more. For this car, I would have gotten two more. You know, because he was meaning, you know, he would have used those materials to corrupt the SS guards to be allowed to get more Jews. And so he beats himself to that. What more could I have done? And the rabbi is here telling him, my friend, look behind you. You have saved a generation. So it goes on to say, me and you as a patriot, when we find this country is actually stuck at a gridlock, what must we do? What do we need to do to rise up to the feeling that every man today is fighting for himself? What happens to reaching out and saying, we are going to build a school for non-profit that these children can learn? The example you give me, we are going to dig a well here without profit so that we can be included as part of humanity.
And just see a community come out around the world.
And you see, that's why Africa is going to have, we are going to have very few people who showed us the way. And I say very few people because we can count them. The likes of Wangari Maathai, the likes of Nelson Mandela. When the world thought these people would act this way, they acted very different. When Mandela, you know, at one point, if Mandela, back when he came out of prison, if Mandela wanted to become a lifelong president of South Africa, trust you what, the world would have accepted. They would have said, man, look, the man has suffered. He has earned it to be a life president for South Africa. But he did none of that. As a matter of fact, when he came out of prison, he reached out to the very same people. And he told South Africans, if we start it wrong, it will end wrong. He reached out to the very same people who had put him there all through these years. He incorporated them into his government. And he did not stop there. He taught the world and said, it is not how long, it is how well. The credibility of our existence, should be accountability and the virtues of goodwill, not how long we serve.
Oh, no, and now we have, talking about time, just going back all the way to the legacy of this government. Do you see them? Do you see this Jubilee government making such a memorable impact in the next maybe 2 years?
Pastor, it is going to be hard, very hard. Not that it's not doable, but it's going to be very hard. For instance, look at free primary education. We're still struggling. Not because we cannot do, it is because we have said we do not want it to work perfectly. And that's why you're seeing people even going to the deep end of stealing money from free primary education. Just the other day with capitation, we had headmasters, you know, blowing up. They did not want to follow a certain prescribed way of governance because they knew, you know what, if this one goes, then our money goes, right? Come to the issue of healthcare. We're still struggling. We have containers at the port that came. They are rotting there. Why were they even brought in to begin with? Those are some of the things we need to ask ourselves, all right?
And of course, we are disturbed by some of the images we see around education, around healthcare,
agriculture,
that those many years after independence, that we still have children in this country who are studying under trees with a volunteer teacher.
There you go.
We still have the poor person.
There you go.
Who, for reasons that are not of his doing, her doing, still goes to hospital and is told, we don't have medicine, you have to go across the road, you know, to the nearby chemist. And when you say it's going to be very hard, then how does hope look like, you know, in the next few next few months?
Very good question, Pastor. Amazing question. And you know, where does hope, or how does hope look like? Actually, that's a very good way to frame it. Because I would see people wanting to know, yes, the president has come up with some very ambitious programs, the Big Four. How do we all engage our minds into solving some of the serious problems that we have in this country. And you put it right, which is housing, things like agriculture, things like food, and healthcare. I mean, these are the things that are really hitting on Wanjiku badly. So I would have liked us to change them. If I had the will to have a one-on-one with the president, I'll say, you know what, Mr. President, you've done well in just bringing this Big Four agenda in. But I would really encourage you to stop looking at them as your legacy projects. Remove the word legacy from them, because legacy is so personified. Make them a culture. Let them form the national agenda. Let Kenyans understand what you're trying to do, such that when another leader comes in, he will not move away from it.
Amazing connect there.
Yes.
Leave alone the legacy.
No.
Let's talk about culture.
Yes. If today you go to China, they remember Chairman Mao. What did he do? He left a culture of honesty and hard work.
Okay.
Not a legacy.
Yeah.
He left a culture. A culture, you cultivate a culture that anybody coming in will say, you know what? President Uhuru left us a culture of feeding one another. Educating one another.
Allow me to.
What is our culture?
It's not laughable, but we all know what our culture
is. Exactly.
We all know what our culture is.
Thank you.
It's all about what is in for me,
In fact,
and that's the culture. Whoever made that culture, as whatever they are, whoever initiated it, and whoever the propagators are, the beneficiaries are, must be like, no, we know our culture.
Yes.
And that said, hope looks hard, and of course that leaves us in a very difficult place.
It is, yes.
And which makes also now us come, Gabriel, to the church, because when the government seems to, not work out as well as it should, there's always the church, which people can always think as this institution that is a lighthouse.
True.
Now, something is wrong in the lighthouse. The light is flickering, and they can't quite guide the ship.
Yes.
Why? Because it's now politics.
Yes.
And the pulpit.
Yes.
And every Sunday, there is Tanga on one hand, in one pulpit.
On the other one.
Kieleweke on another.
And we don't know anybody else.
And we never see the priest. The priest is always seated in the background, fully vested, with a clerical gear.
Yes.
But the voice we hear, is not the gospel.
Right.
Now, the church and politics at this particular time.
Right.
What's going on?
Pastor, the church, like somebody put it, the church wants to be like the world, but the world does not want to be like the church. And that is why you see today it's sometimes very hard for you. If you do not see the clergy seated behind, you'll actually mistake it for a political rally. And justifiably so. It's because the church has allowed it. You remember last time I told you the church must now begin to move from the passenger seat to becoming the stakeholders, even on matters corruption. And as you speak about matters corruption, you must speak about the morality. You must bring the morality sphere, failure to which the church is going to be swallowed up. My only worry is that the church is not speaking up. Speaking up, not speaking with. The church must divorce itself from the smallness of our politicians. As you've put it, the church has been for the longest time the lighthouse. Yes, the light could be flickering, but the church should not lose its power. Because if it does, let me tell you, it is the only lifeline we are hanging on. The church today, Pastor, it is the only moral gatekeeper.
Sorry to
we'll lose this.
Yeah, sorry to maybe paint a dimmer picture. Because you say that the church must speak out.
Yes.
The question, two questions emerge from there. Right. Does the church know what to say? That's one.
Yes.
The other one is, from which mouth will the church speak?
Which is very true. Again, very good questions. From where I've always known the church to be. And you know, I've really been around these people for quite a long time. I told you how I grew up. I told you some of the spiritual authorities that I subscribed to, and still today. And the one thing that has never changed is how they've continued talking about Christ being the head of the church. Question is that just about speak, or should we see it actionalized? And I think that's what needs to happen. The fact that we have become so convoluted that we do not know when a politician is talking and when a clergy is talking, really it's something that we need to run away from. Otherwise, Pastor, I believe we are going to have the church really indoctrinated into politics. The last thing you would want to see is a church where you cannot tell the difference when a clergy is talking and when a politician is talking. I told you last time, when the two people talk, when somebody who walks with God talks, and one who listens from the adversary, when they talk, the message should be very different. You cannot share the same cluelessness with the world. We should never allow this, Pastor, to be honest. When the church speaks, the authority should be, this is what the creator of the universe wants, because he's resident in this church.
The prophetic.
Yes.
You know, and somebody talked about, and I found this very interesting, somebody spoke about the self-aware politician versus the priest whose identity is staggering.
Correct.
So here is a priest who doesn't quite understand what priesthood really is about.
Correct.
The prophetic.
Correct.
But here is a politician who is really aware that this is a platform that I can use day after day after day to attain my goal. And so they are two, as vested as the priest is, they really may not know what it is, what they are about. You know? So the staggering priest who is staggering with identity ends up being impressed by the politician, as compared to, you know, the politician, you know, actually waiting to hear what the priest has to say. You know, the Nathan David situation.
Right.
And it's quite interesting when you think about it. Let's go to money. Right. And because there was this huge, almost you know, breakthroughing kind of announcement by one of the bishops, respected bishops in this country, saying that we will not accept fundraisers, we will not accept monies from politicians. And it was bishopric, you know. So it is taken to be a decree, not an opinion. But then a few days later, that position softens. And we hear that, no, I didn't mean people cannot come to church. I don't mean they can't bring their tithes and offerings. What I meant is now more logistical.
There you go.
No, the other one was a principle. You know, a principle statement. But now the reviewed statement is more a logistical statement. This should be done after the mass, you know. Should be done outside the church. So it's not a, the principle has been diluted to a logistic.
And you see, that's why I liked about Christ. And even though I know we are going to talk about the money, when you know, Christ talked about things in finality, and you really needed to like this person. When you read the Bible and you know the chronicles and the articles, and you read the journey of Christ, it really, when you would come with all your sins, yes, he would not rebuke you, but after all is said and done, he would tell you a very simple thing: sin no more. That was the finality. It's not like, you know, go sin, you know, here, live, no. The finality was sin no more. And that in itself told you, if you're going east, you turn and start going west. It did not mean that, you know, go a little bit east, you know, struggle a little. I know you will struggle. I know you just cannot let it go at one point. No, he will take a radical turn around and go this direction. And I think that's where the church and the money thing should come in. If the church is going to agree that we are not receiving money from politicians, then they must speak in one voice.
Just before you go for the break, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
From your analysis.
Yes.
Why is the church needing so much money? And such that whatever sources it comes from, that they are willing to embrace. Why does the church need so much money now from outside itself, so to speak?
Pastor, you remember what I told you? The church wants to be like the world, while the world does not want to be like the church. Look at how And this, you know, the reason why I even don't like talking about this is because people don't get it. But on this one, I won't care. Look at how they've done things, their methodology, their thinking. It equalizes them with the world. Just because you saw a politician with a big mansion and a big car, now you want the money to live that lifestyle. That is the problem. That is why the church needs the money. But if you really are to look in deep and question some of these churches, why would you need this? Why would you need to have this? Why must you get this? Why must you fly in a private jet? Why? They will not answer you. You know what they'll tell you? You know, that's how gospel is propagated. It is not. The gospel, how me and you know it, and how they are, you know, the entire world perceives the gospel, how it should be, you know, proclaimed, is very different. So here you have people who just want to fit a narrative to just be in the world, but they don't want to run there. They are heading there all right, but they want to take the baby steps so that they can indoctrinate you to believing this is normal. The church does not need the gargantuan amounts of money that sometimes pour in. You know what? We used to do it back in the day. We would go out with forms to Changisha. You know, us. No politician was invited. We would build, the church was built by the members. Oh, the pastor wanted a car. We would get the car that the church could afford, not what the pastor wanted. It is not wrong for him to drive a triple guzzler. That's not the issue. The issue is, if you're talking about preaching the gospel, you get an effective, and this is the word I use, effective. A car is a tool of effectiveness, period. It does not need to have all the bells and whistles. And I know many people hate this topic, but that's just the reality. So I would not be choking my church, if I was one, pastor, choking my church to deliver for me the best fleet so that I can be seen to fit into a bill that systematically engages the world.
Okay. You know, you interact with politicians quite a
lot,
bit.
yes.
When you listen to them,
Right.
what kind of priest
Yes.
would they honor or respect?
You see, and that's another good thing. Get somebody who stands their ground. These people will honor you. They will bow to you. Just stand your ground. You see, not to be confused with the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but the seminal figure of the Protestant, Martin Luther himself, the first one, made several attempts to correct some of the things that are going on today in this world, and in our country in particular, where people must rise and speak. And what did he say? He said, where the battle rages, the loyalty of a soldier is known. Where the battle rages, today this topic, you only need one person, a true soldier, to rise up. That's all is required.
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground.
I think in the same voice, I remember reading over and over again a quote from him that said, "Here I stand."
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And I think that was, he was, being asked, Martin Luther.
Right.
He was being asked to, recant his position.
Yes.
Or review his position.
Exactly.
He said, "Here I stand."
Yes. Yes.
Connecting with what you've said, that where the battle rages,
yeah, the loyalty of a soldier is known.
Wow.
Yes.
Imagine. I know. Just finish.
Imagine if the priesthood today stood against what is happening. These nonsensicals you are talking about, politicians infiltrating the church and vice versa. Imagine if true believers, the clergies, the pastors, the bishop, if the true elements stood up, people will revere them. And this is where the battle is raging. So the loyalties of these soldiers must be known.
The stand must be known.
Oh, yes.
As compared to the present shiftiness.
Oh,
that
my
we
goodness.
see.
You don't know where they are going or where they are coming
Wow.
back. It's a mess.
Viewers, we're talking about the state of the nation and quite something about the church. And when we come back, we'll be talking about handshake politics, huduma politics. Please stay with us. This is Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look. We'll be right back.